Kyle Shanahan said immediately after the game that he thought it was a busted protection, but he'd have to check the tape. So what I have here for you, Jeff, is the video that you posted. So it has some of your it has some of you in it. So you want me to just hit play and you can tell everybody what you think happened
here? I know what happened here. So, what they're trying to do here is they're taking that 64 right there, right, the center, and they're bringing him out to the left. They're popping them out, right? And so you see right here, that means here's the thing. So what they're trying to do, I think, is they're actually trying to hit Kittle on this, is my guess. And they're trying to influence the linebackers to move with McCaffrey on that motion if it's zone coverage, and then hit Kittle behind it. Because if you watch at the very end, Kittle does release. So he blocks here, and he releases, he pops right out. That's their zone. That's kind of the first read, in my opinion, of this play. It's like Jennings to Kittle. And man coverage, it goes to Jennings. Kittle, it goes zone coverage. So they're trying to get, with this action right here, the linebackers, if they're playing zone, to move with McCaffrey, right? And then hit Kittle behind that movement. But it's man coverage, right? So all this action doesn't help at all, because in man coverage, obviously, you're just looking at the guy you're guarding, not the quarterback. And so you should ideally check out of this protection and say, hey, man, just go block the 5 big guys that we see here lined up, and let's play. But I don't think Purdy has the freedom in this offense to do that. And this play is very much like a call it and run it type of situation. So 65 and 71 block down, 64 pops out. But that's a wasted action because you're not actually influencing the defense at all, right? There's no influence. They're all man coverage, right? And then the left guard has the guy over the center. But on the front side of a play like this, if you're the right guard, you have the front side A gap. But there's only one guy in there. So really that's the left guard's guy, right? So I get what 74 is thinking. I got to protect the inside A gap. If there were 2 guys there, he should do that, right? Right guy? But there's one. So he does. So he has a mental error. He should be blocking Chris Jones. 68, you see here as he pass sets. His hand is out to protect Jones right there. They're going to sort of double Jones, and he's going to pop back out and take the guy Kittle's on. 20, it depends on the rules they have here, but 20 is probably just free. But Purdy should beat him by either hitting Kittle or hitting Jennings. Instead, of course, Chris Jones gets free, and it ruins the play. I just don't like on 3rd and 4 at this point in the game, on almost every third down in the second half, the Chiefs brought pressure, right, Guy?
Yeah.
And so you're calling this play to influence a red zone cover 4, which the Chiefs just aren't doing this in this game right now. They're bringing pressure, and they just didn't have an answer for this. And even the other third down that we texted about earlier, like that, they had 6 guys to block 6, and you messed it up. So there were some execution errors, I thought, and play calling errors in the key moments of this game.
Is this something? So there's a few questions here, and we've got the end zone view here, but what ends up happening is Kittle releases, like you said, and then I think one of the safeties or
it's 21 right there down. Above the guy with the wristbands on.
Got it.
Right above him.
So at the right of the screen.
But Kittle's open enough to get a first down at least. And here's the thing: I know Ayuk who's open on the backside. That's not really his read. Like that's like extra guy. Like that's like I look right, no one's open. I look back over the middle of the field. Brandon Ayuk is there. I think people forget that sometimes in these routes. Like I will take film that I see and text it to a buddy of mine. He's like, yeah, the quarterback never even looks that way. Like that's the 4th option. So when he looks sort of open, this to me is, again, you're reading the front side. You're reading, okay, man coverage Jennings, zone Kittle. Okay, they're both covered. I'm going to turn back to the middle. Here's Ayuk coming back over the top. I'm going to hit him. Like that's not a play. He's not looking there to start. Like he's the 3rd option. So even though he's open early, he's not really going to look to him to get to the middle of the field.
I will say I heard from and this is where I know you said this a lot in your video too, like it's hard to know exactly what's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
I did hear from a Super Bowl via an intermediary, a Super Bowl winning quarterback that said he thought Ayuk might have been the second read on that. But, I don't know. Whatever read he was, not blocking Chris Jones gives you no time. Right? If you block it up. And here's the other thing. If he's second, then Kittle's third. I mean, I don't know the order. I'm not a quarterback. But, yeah, I mean, he's not the first guy. I think people thought Ayuk's open right now, throw it to him. He's not the first read on this play. Right. And the defender fell down. That was part of why Brandon Ayuk was wide ass open. So, a couple things here. One, is this to you on Shanahan? Should Purdy have been fixing this at the line of scrimmage? How does this get? How do you prevent something like this happening?
So ideally, you just don't call this protection, right, in the situation. And then Purdy, I guess, can fix it. But I will not pretend to watch a ton of Niners film studying whether or not Purdy makes a bunch of checks. I don't think he does, Guy, right? He's not coming to the line of scrimmage and changing a lot of protections. They kind of just call it and run it. We got 2 jet, we're going to the left. We got 3 jet, we're going right. We got a base protection, we're blocking the mic. My dog, by the way, is about to just scream in here right now. He's right. He knows how to open the door. He's like right at the door.
It's a German Shepherd, very smart.
Yeah, German Shepherd. And so, you just shouldn't have called this. Like Purdy's not a guy, because here's the thing: if you change the protection, you're obviously changing basically the base of the play, right? And I don't know if Purdy is able to do that quite yet. You'd be basically checking to a new. You still have McCaffrey on the motion, obviously, but that's really it makes a different play. And so I don't think Purdy is able to do that quite yet in this offense. I just wouldn't have called this protection right now.
Yeah, and you got Burford because Feliciano got hurt, so you've got this 2-year rotation at right guard. which is crazy. And it just so happens that the guy that gets free is maybe the best defensive player in the NFL. Yeah,
Chris Jones, dude. I had Chris Jones over a quarter of a sack in this game, and he had he was a 21% win rate and didn't get a sack. I was like you can't really have a better wager than that and not hit home. Look, again, if you're the backup, it's not the right tackle's fault, man.
So McKivitz is catching a lot of flack for this. You're saying this is not on him.
I don't think it's on him. Maybe you could say that they're supposed to block 20, but I don't think they are. Again, with Kittle there, it's like a 5.5 man protection, right? Some will teach you those 3 guys have the 3 defenders, but you can also view it as empty protection where the guy comes from depth. He's just on the quarterback. But when you go, this is the point I think sometimes of when I tell young players what's the one thing to learn, it's the playbook, right? And this is the exact example, because it's not about just learning the playbook, Guy, right? It's about learning the ins and outs of every play. And you might be called upon at any time. And this is not a play I promise you that 74 has run in practice. It's not a play that they've seen versus this look. So you're just looking at your rules, right? And so as a right guard, you have to look, okay, I know I have that front side A gap, but the guard's going to block him. So I know the guard is coming down to block him. So I'm going to have Chris Jones. And that's something that you have to just be able to diagnose in 15 seconds of the line of scrimmage, because you know the ins and outs of that play. I'm not saying 74 doesn't know that, but he obviously made a mental error here because he just wasn't, he wasn't ready for this play.
The other question I had for you on this was, what is the purpose of the center, Jake Brendel, kicking out to block outside of the left side of Trent Williams?
Well, you're trying to sell that action that you're running the ball like a fly sweep. So because again, if you're in let's say Bolton is off the line of scrimmage 32 and Reed that's Reed, I think, number 20, they're off the ball, right? And so they're like this, right? Off the ball. And if you pull the center with McCaffrey, they're both going to do this, right? And if they both move this direction, you can sneak Kittle behind them on the pop, or then hit Ayuk over the top, right? So that's why, but they're not in this alignment. So you get the line of scrimmage, you're like, oh shit, it looks like they're bringing pressure. Let's get out of this protection. That's why they popped them out. So again, I would think they did not practice this with double A gap pressure. It's not something they practice in the situation with both those guys. But again, this is how many third downs in a row, Guy, where the Chiefs have dialed up the Niners. It's not a surprise the Chiefs were going to bring pressure on this play.
Yeah. One thing I was talking about just before you popped on was this like Steve Spagnuolo versus Brock Purdy. That Spagnuolo, this guy came into the NFL as a full-time assistant the year Brock was born. He's now won 4 Super Bowls as a defensive coordinator, the most in NFL history by any defensive coordinator. He held Tom Brady in 2008 to very similar numbers to those that Purdy had last night. Brady was 60% for 266 and a touchdown. Purdy was 60% for 255 and a touchdown. So after the game, he said basically that they drew up like the Leo Chenal pressure to start the second half after the interception, that they had not practiced that, but he believed that, if they drew it up, they had to make some adjustments because, in his words, I'll just read you this quote. People watching or listening just heard me say this. Quote, Purdy is really good. He knew when we were in certain things, and he found seams. So, what do you think of that? Like, how much of that matchup was just going to be really tough for Purdy going up against Spagnuolo?
So, not to rub salt in the wound here, Aaron Schatz, DVOA, FTN Bet said he has his DVOA match. He said the three best teams not win a Super Bowl were the 07 Patriots, the 23 Niners, and the 19 Niners. And all three of those teams played Steve Spagnuolo's defense, right?
Wow.
So he obviously has something in those moments. The first half I thought the Chiefs were a little too vanilla. Second half, they just started bringing pressure from everywhere. And I think we saw that, again, go back to the film's not out yet. I wish it was, that third down play. Like, you had 6 to block 6. And again, Brock Purdy's, the thing that's interesting about Purdy is that he is good when you bring pressure and block it up. He's not good when the pressure sort of gets to him, if that makes sense, right? Like when he's pressured per se, when he's moving a little bit, when he kind of gets, to your point, you've made it, I think it's a good point, that when he sort of gets hit a little bit, the ball flutters, right? But if you can bring pressure and block it up, his numbers are very good. And the Chiefs just found unique ways to not have that happen, right? Where they brought a guy who was free, brought a guy from here that was free. And again, going back to what I said, Brock Purdy is not a guy right now in this offense. And to be fair, I've never played Shanahan's offense. I do not know if this is the thing that they do or do not do in this offense. But he's not a big, at the line of scrimmage, okay, well, we're supposed to slide left, but I think it's coming from the right. Let's go over here. Like Mahomes does that, right? Mahomes is coming to the line of scrimmage. The Chiefs virtually don't have called protections. They do. Mahomes just decides where he wants the line to go every play. Like he just, okay, well, let's go here. Like, okay, we're going here. Oh, we're going here today. We're going here. Nope, we're going over there. That's not what Purdy does. And there's not a right or wrong thing, guy. Like you can work both ways. It's not a big deal. But in this specific game, I thought he just fooled a couple times. And then look, we saw, I think, a little bit of limitations of the passing game against, it's not fair, 2 all-pro corners, right? And Snead and McDuffie. Like, there's not a diverse pass menu that the Niners run. And eventually it's like, okay, they're running another dig. Let's, like this is the 7th time they've run a dig in this game against man coverage. Like I'm gonna get in someone's way. Like I'm gonna figure it out. And that's sort of what happened, I thought, in this game over time, is the Chiefs defense just sort of figured out where the receivers were going to be. And I thought, and again, I thought on the whole, Brock was okay. Like he wasn't bad. Was he like the best we've ever seen? No. Excuse me. I thought he was just good, guy. He was just good. He was what he was. And that was a good quarterback. But, obviously, I think in those clutch situations, we saw Mahomes make 2 really good throws against 0 pressure to get first downs. And Purdy didn't. And that's a big difference between them.
I got to put a stopwatch on it. It felt, in Purdy's defense, Jeff, it felt like every Chiefs pressure got to him in half a second. And every time the Niners pressured, it took forever. And Mahomes got the ball out.
That's my point about, like, Mahomes doesn't get fooled anymore. Like he knows exactly where the pressure's coming from. And so he's just able to, even, just the running back gets, and there was one play where it looked like the back even tackled Fred Warner, and the Rashee Rice catch looked like the running back tackled Warner there, but they're all blocked up, right? They're all, and the Niners just didn't have that. There were free runners everywhere at Brock Purdy. And because I don't know, again, I haven't watched the film yet. I don't know if it's because Brock Purdy doesn't check, or the Niners the Chiefs had a good plan for their protections, but some of these more veteran quarterbacks, Brady, Manning, Breeze, Mahomes, I think Burrow to an extent, they're just not getting fooled by as many pressures as Brock Purdy did yesterday.
Chiefs generated season high 9 on block pressures in the Super Bowl, all of which came on blitzes.
Yeah, I mean they just, and here's the thing again, like, when you have 2 corners that are all pro level, and obviously McDuffie made it, Snead did not, even though Snead should have, you have the luxury of doing that, right? You can bring pressure and have 2 man-to-man corners behind it. Now, obviously, McDuffie is also a player who brings pressure as well, because you have safeties who can cover. So they just have a very interchangeable defense, which is a lot of teams just don't have.
All right. Any other takes on the, I told you 10, 15 minutes, have you jump on here and break something down?
No, I mean, I thought it was a good game. I thought, it's funny. I mean, Juwan Jennings was probably the MVP, right? Like for a while, guy, till he wasn't.
Yeah. If the Niners won, I felt like Juwan was the MVP. I mean, maybe I've seen people suggest maybe Bosa becomes the MVP if the Niners win, but Jennings threw and caught a touchdown.
It's funny. I have to go back and watch it, but everyone's talking about Bosa. I don't. The first half seemed to me like the Niners just covered the Chiefs really well. It wasn't like a pass rush winning immediately. It was no one open, which doesn't lead to sort of I did not look at that game and think Bosa dominated like people have talked about. I thought Chris Jones dominated. I thought Trent McDuffie. I thought Fred Warner. I thought Fred Warner was incredible in this game. Obviously, he kind of you get beat by Kelsey at the end, so be it. But Warner saved a touchdown on a screen. I mean, Warner was incredible guy. I didn't think Bosa stood out in the way that Warner or Chris Jones or Trent McDuffie to me stood out defensively. I got to go back and watch it to make sure. But people have said that. I didn't get that sense watching the game live.
What did you think of the 4th down and 1 play in overtime? Mahomes keeps, second time in the game, Bosa comes crashing down the line after the running back. Is that how much of that is on Bosa and how much of that is just you're just going to get tricked? You just nothing you can do about that.
So it's a great question. I'm waiting for the film to come up because I'm going to package the 3 plays together, right? So the Chiefs had the zone read where Mahomes kept it against man coverage, had the big gain. The 4th down play, which was actually a bootleg. It wasn't an RPO. It was a straight bootleg. It was a roll the edge, throw the ball, run the ball. So it's a run pass option, but not in the traditional sense. And the touchdown, which was sort of, again, a zone read with the same sort of action. Mahomes kept the ball because on that touchdown, the influence of Mahomes keeping the ball twice brought Warner and the safety to him, and then McCole Hardman snuck out the backside. God, I watch every San Francisco Chiefs play this season. They haven't run this one time all season. Like, they had not run a zone read one time all season where Mahomes kept the ball and ran down the field. So Bosa has no reason to play zone read. Never, no reason to. He just runs that down, chases down the back from behind. So the Chiefs, I thought, did a really good job of adjusting and calling plays they had not done all season. The bootleg, they'd done a little bit. I'm not sure they've done it quite in that same way. They've done the rollout, right, where they roll Mahomes out with that same action, but not where he fakes the handoff first. It's not Bosa's fault per se. I mean, they didn't show that guy all season. I don't blame Bosa for playing.
But
like
they did. But they did keep it once earlier in the game. You're just saying it was a different play.
It was the long run, yeah.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, but why would Bosa change what he did because of one play? You know what I mean? Like, he comes down hard. The backers should scrape over the top if that happens. I'm not surprised that Bosa really didn't change how he played that. That to me is not. It's more of a Chiefs like win more than like a Niners loss, if that makes sense.